Om Ganati Mananda Syanganangana Sadakya Chaksurin Miritam Yana Tajmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yana Bhutare Swayam Rupakaramayam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamanam Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savidutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishikhanvitam Scha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pasaya Bhutade Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tanamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesa Sunivari Bhaskata De Sadhani Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Nashta Prayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Seva Bhagavati Utamashaki Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki Nigamaka Parur Garitam Param Shukamakaramitha Samitam Pivata Bhagatam Rashamariam Mahora Harashika Bhavabhikaham Krishna Swadama Bhagate Dharmagani Vihisha Karunasta Dishamisha Parana Kodinodita Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Welcome to Motivational Monday, July 20th. Govinda Dev, Malini Preeti from Malaysia, where it's 9 o'clock in the morning. Joe, Manasaganga, I believe from Northern California. Thank you all for joining us. We have a very crucial verse this morning. Glories to Prabhupada. There's a long purport to it, which we won't get through all in one day. We'll just discuss the first paragraph of the purport to this verse. The interesting thing about this verse is that Vasudeva, which is a name for Krishna, appears on every line, and the word para also appears on every line, which means the supermost. It's the superlative. It means the best. You have good and you have better. And that may be multiple, but which is the best is usually only one singular. So Vasudeva Para, he's the best. And then Veda, he's the best object of knowledge. Maka, object, beneficiary of sacrifice. Yoga, destination of yoga. Kriya, you do things, you do them for his satisfaction. Gyanam, he's the goal of knowledge. Tapasya is engaged in order to realize him. Dharma, he's the essence, he's the personification of righteousness and truth. And Gati, he's the ultimate destination. So let's just get to it, shall we? Thanks for joining us, Prashant, as well. Vasudeva Para, this is the 28th verse in the second chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Vasudeva Para Veda, Vasudeva Para Makaha, Vasudeva Para Yoga, Vasudeva Para Kriyaha, Vasudeva Param Jnanam, Vasudeva Param Tapa, Vasudeva Para Dharmo, Vasudeva Para Gati. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate goal of knowledge is Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please him. Yoga is for realizing him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by him only. He is supreme knowledge. All severe austerities are performed to know him. Religion, dharma, is rendering loving service unto him. He is the supreme goal of life. The purport by Srila Prabhupada. That Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, is the only object of worship is confirmed in these shlokas. In the Vedic literatures, there is the same objective, establishing one's relationship and ultimately reviving our lost loving service unto him. That is the sum and substance of the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita, the same theory is confirmed by the Lord in his own words. Vedas charva sarvayaham eva vedanta vid vedakrid eva chaham. The ultimate purpose of the Vedas is to know him only. All the revealed scriptures are prepared by the Lord, Mahamuni Kimba Para Ishwaraha, in the body of Srila Vyasadeva, just to remind the fallen souls, conditioned by material nature, of Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead. No demigod, and that's what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks, the difference between the Lord and the demigods. No demigod can award freedom from material bondage. This is the verdict of all Vedic literatures. Impersonalists who have no information of the personality of Godhead minimize the omnipotency of the Supreme Lord and put him on an equal footing with all other living beings. And for this act, such impersonalists get freedom from material bondage only with great difficulty, and it's not a permanent sort of freedom. They can surrender unto him only after many, many births in the culture of transcendental knowledge. In the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, we find this verse. And let me ask you also during the course of the talk if there's anything that, any turn of phrase or anything that resonates with you, just go ahead and transcribe it into the comments or hit a like or something. The more interaction we have, the better it will be in terms of exposing our Bhagavad philosophy to the largest number of people. So go ahead and be free with your comments, free with your interaction, be free to share with other people. There we go. We're getting some fireworks across the screen already. I could do this on my desktop, but the thing is on the desktop you don't see all the little things coming up. And so it's so much more inspirational to use the phone and then just see all those little thumbs up and everything going there. But I haven't said anything profound yet, so. But it's good practice. Ishtan Bhogani Bodheva, this is the 12th verse in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Ishtan Bhogani Bodheva, Dasyanti Yagabhavata, Ter Dadana Pradaivo, Yo Bhukta Shtena Eva Cha. In charge of the various necessities of life, the demigods, being satisfied by the performance of yajna, will supply all the necessities to you. But he who enjoys such gifts without offering them to the demigods in return is certainly a thief. So we talked last week about how you get electricity, you get water. We couldn't live without electricity, we couldn't live without water. But we have to pay a small token amount every month called the utilities bill. If we take water and electricity for granted and neglect to pay the bill at the end of the month, eventually those energies will be shut off. We'll have to learn to live without them. Similarly, the Lord has established a system whereby various demigods are in charge of the various necessities of life. There's the sun god, there's the rain god, there's the wind god, there's the water god. But we can't, on our part, just take this for granted. This is the demoniac mentality. Asatyam apatishtam te jagadahor aparishparasam kimanyat kamai to come. A man's walking along the street and he sees a car parked there and he thinks, oh, the car is just, it's here. I'm going to take proprietorship of it. He goes in, he fiddles with the wires and drives off. What's wrong with this picture? It's not his car. He didn't buy it. He didn't earn it with the sweat of his brow. He didn't pay the registration, didn't pay the insurance. It's not registered in his name with the state. And that's a thief. One who just thinks that things are randomly appearing by chance or by accident, and they are his only for his claiming proprietorship over it. That's the mentality of a thief. I remember in the 50s, America was so upset because the Russians put up the first satellite, the Sputnik. And of course, that was the precursor to going to the moon. And in those days, nothing's changed really, but in those days, it was called the race to the moon. And Russia and America thought that the first astronauts to land on the moon and put the U.S. or the USSR flag, just by virtue of pinning the flag on the surface of the earth, then you owned it. You claimed it. It was yours. Not considering that who put the moon in the sky, who owns it, who actually produced it, who's the creator, who's the owner of it. Anybody who can, the first person who wins the race who puts their flag, they will claim the moon as their own in order to exploit it. So this is called Bhukta Sthena Eva Cha. This is the thieving mentality. And you might think based on this verse that the demigods have some, they're autonomous. You can just sacrifice them and then all of your duties are perfectly satisfied. The only problem with that is that there are 33 million demigods. You're going to be doing a lot of sacrificing all day, every day. You're still not going to get around to all the demigods, even in your lifetime. Therefore, the demigods are not all going to be pleased. Your bills are not all going to be paid. You cannot be guaranteed the continual supply of resources. So don't be misled by this verse to think that you can go and water each leaf and flower and branch of the tree. That's not the proper way to water the tree. Similarly, worshiping each and every demigod in order to get the various necessities of life in return is not a proper way to ensure your peace and prosperity and to make sure that every living entity is satisfied. The proper way to water the tree is to put the water on the root of the tree, then all the branches, leaves, and flowers are automatically nourished. So the demigods are simply supplying agents under the supervision of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If you satisfy the Lord, karana karanam, the cause of all causes, people say, well, if God created everything, who created God? That's the definition of God, that he created everything and nobody or nothing created him. He's the cause from which all other cause and effects come, but he himself has no cause. When you find that controller who has no controller above him, when you find that cause who is not caused, then you have arrived at the lotus feet of the absolute truth. And if you tailor, customize all of your activities, your speaking, your thinking, your acting, in order to satisfy that supreme root cause of all causes, then your life is perfect. Then every other living being is also satisfied. Elsewhere it is said, Nitya Nityanam Eko Yovidadati Kamam. So 33 million demigods in each and every universe, trusted and charged with the management, with the administration, with the smooth running of each and every universe, sunlight, rain, crops, seasonal changes, etc., etc., etc. It's easy to get bewildered, and it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that if we're the followers of the dharmic culture of India, that we're pantheists or that we're polytheists. No, we're not, because the 33 million demigods in each and every universe are simply representatives, authorized representatives of the Lord. They may be supreme in their own department, but over and above them there is Ishvara Parama Krishna. In the United States, there are various cabinet ministers. For instance, Secretary of Health and Welfare, the Secretary of Defense, who's also in charge of the armed forces. So in the armed forces, it's perfectly all right to think of the Commander-in-Chief of the armed forces as God. You have to give all respects to him. You have to follow without question the orders trickling down from the cabinet ministers in charge of the armed forces. But he himself takes his orders from the president, who is the ultimate commander-in-chief of the armies. As a soldier, you don't need to know so much about the president. You just need to know what the commander-in-chief, the cabinet minister in terms of defense wants you to do, and you need to do it unquestionably. You don't need to ask him, have you cleared it with the president? Yes, he's cleared it with the president. You can make that assumption and just act according to his orders. But the point is, as the cabinet ministers in the government of the United States, they may be autonomous to some degree, they may be supreme, so far as their constituents and their employees are concerned in that particular department. But each and every one of them is only authorized by the Commander-in-Chief, by the President of the United States. If the President of the United States, and we've seen there's been so much turnover and shakeup in the current administration, people are getting fired right and left, and the personnel are always changing, which proves my point, that the cabinet minister is supreme only insofar as the president gives him that latitude, gives him that authority. So it is said, ultimately, although there are so many different demigods, and we are meant to satisfy the demigods, that's true, but we are not meant to satisfy each and every one of them separately and individually, and that's confirmed in this verse from the Upanishads, Nitya Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitanam Eko Yovidadati Kama. The word Nitya is used in the singular sense here. The supreme, singular, eternal, or God, Nitya Nityanam, is the source of the plural eternals, such as you and me and all the demigods. Similarly, that Eko, that one, supplies all the necessities of life to the many living beings. There's a God in charge of sunlight, there's a God in charge of air, there's a God in charge of water, there's a God in charge of rain. That's all true. But ultimately, their power only derives from the power of Krishna. It is Krishna who authorizes them to supply the various necessities of life. And although we have to satisfy the demigods, we can't leave the demigods dissatisfied. We have to give them their might. We do that, the proper way to do that is by directly making not the demigods, but Lord Vishnu or Lord Krishna the goal of our life. We need to satisfy Krishna, and in doing so, the demigods are all automatically satisfied. And this certainly makes life simple. You can breathe a sigh of relief because we're not pantheists, we're not polytheists. We don't have to satisfy each and every one of the demigods. We only have to satisfy one person. Similarly, if you tend to be a people pleaser, you want everybody to certify you as a nice guy, a good guy. It's very stressful to keep everyone happy. Abraham Lincoln said, you can please all of the people some of the time, you can please some of the people all of the time, but you can't please all of the people all the time. Right now, we're experiencing a runaway pandemic, and all you have to do to get it under control is wear a mask, wash your hands, and practice social distancing. It's just common sense. We want to look out for ourselves, and we want to look out for our fellow creatures. In Japan, without any government order, without any mandate, because the civic social consciousness is so evolved there, people, when the coronavirus arrived, people just started wearing masks. Nobody even had to told them to. It was self-evident. It was obvious. But you can't please all the people all the time. So just look at the divisiveness. Look at the unrest in America simply because we're asking people to watch out for themselves and watch out for others. Just in this connection, a little story. Alona Smith runs the Anamkara Yoga Studio in Riverside, California. For about 7 years, we've done a Festival of Colors in Riverside. In March, it had to be postponed this year. But Alona would come with all of her teachers and take all the yoga classes. And so we have, I'm a friend on Facebook and vice versa. So she posted something yesterday. She said, imagine you're arriving at an airport and you've got your mask on. And someone says, oh, you're wearing a mask. You must be one of those liberals who are giving away all your civic rights to potentially authoritarian governments. And Alona said she'd already anticipated someone asking her that question and worked out how she would respond to it. So in her hypothetical here, she says to the critic, now actually I'm wearing the mask out of concern for others because I woke up this morning with a bad cough and 102-degree temperature. So at this point, she pulls down the mask, approaches the lady face to face and says, but if you'd like, let's have a sisterly hug and embrace. At which point, the lady turns and starts running away across the lanes of traffic in the airport, falls down, and then our protagonist goes and pulls her leg. And Alona says, just like I'm pulling your leg right now. So the proper way is to recognize that you can't please all of the people all the time. It's just an impossibility. But you can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We don't need people to be promoted. It's not people who bless us, it's ultimately Krishna who blesses us. So what a relief. How much more easily we can breathe when we know we don't have to please everybody in our life. All of our fellow employees, all of our co-workers, all of our family members, all of the politicians. We just have to be our best and keep the goal of life to please the supreme cause of all causes. Keep that foremost in our life. And he's so easily pleased. How many hoops we have to jump through to please our cousin who never quite approved of us, to please our supervisor who never really gives us the credit that we deserve. How difficult that is. What an uphill battle if someone has decided in advance they don't like something about you. Compared to that, you can please the Lord of all the demigods, he who ultimately supplies all the necessities of life for all living. You can please him as easily as offering him a flower, fruit, leaf, or water, and chanting his holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What a relatively carefree, easy, comfortable, smooth, loving, intimate, meaningful way to conduct your life. Am I wrong? When Krishna says in the 5th chapter, 29th verse, Bhoktaram yagatapasham, suridam sarvabhuti, gyatpamam shantim richiti. He says, I am the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the Supreme Lord, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, of all planets and demigods, Suridam Sarvabhutaram, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, Gyatva Mam Shantim Richati. Anybody who knows that achieves peace from all material miseries. So Krishna is claiming the results of all sacrifices as his own. Now, this is not some narcissistic, egotistical, parasitical, blood-sucking, so-called politician. This is the person who has breathed life into us. This is the person who forged us out of his own hand. This is our divine, loving, heavenly Father. This is the person who blessed us from the very beginning with immortality, full knowledge, and bliss, who made us spirit, indestructible. We cannot be burned by fire, cut by weapon, drowned by water, or withered by the wind. That's how God created us. He blessed us in such a profound way that no circumstances, no critic, no enemy, no pandemic, no virus can ever curse us, can ever undo the blessing, the favor, and the anointing that he put on our lives. And so when he's asking to be the recipient of all sacrifice, he's just asking a token recognition. That's all. We all had the experience. We grew up in a normal American, European, Malaysian family where there were 2 parents in the home. It was our dad's birthday coming up. And we were thinking, how can I please my father with a gift on his birthday? And you go up and you can't figure it out because he's got a car, he's got a house, he's got a lawnmower, he's got golf clubs, he's got an AT, whatever it is. He's got all of it. And you can't imagine, what is it that I can give my father that he doesn't have? But you don't have to worry about that. That's an unnecessary anxiety. When you ask Dad, what can I give you for your birthday? He says, just anything. It doesn't matter. Just go buy something for a quarter or 50 cents. With the allowance that I give you, the main thing is it's coming from you. Doesn't matter what it is. In fact, you can't give me anything I don't already have, but you can give me your love. You can give me your appreciation. I remember I had the same problem when I was a kid, maybe 8 or 9 or 10 years old. My dad's birthday was coming up. It was October 4th, I remember. And I wanted to give him a gift. And he said the same thing to me. He said that what I'm going to enjoy is not the gift, but the fact that it comes from you. That you took the time out, you took some of your allowance money, which came from me, and you bought something. So I remember Dad was a graduate of the University of Pittsburgh. We're from Pennsylvania. And he always followed everything that had to do with Pitt, the sports and the academics and everything. And so the Pittsburgh are called I think they're called the Cougars, Panthers, Pittsburgh Panthers, I think. So I just went to a dollar store, a curio stop, and I bought a little ceramic panther. I might have paid 50 cents for it or something. And I gave it to him, and he was so pleased, just so happy. And when Krishna says, make me the goal, the beneficiary of all your sacrifices, don't pay separately for light, for rain, for water, for all these things. Just give me something out of love and devotion. Patram pushpam palam tiyam. The Supreme Lord, creator of millions of universes, is satisfied with as little as a flower, fruit, leaf, or water. And by chanting his holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is this is like sun flashing through, dissipating the darkness, illuminating everything. Such an easy process it is. Who would be so unfortunate as not to worship the Lord of all universes, of all demigods, with a little water, a little flower, a little fruit, and a little time set aside for honoring him by chanting his holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Thomas writes, gifts are valuable and meaningful not because of their price tag, but because of the love and gratitude they represent. Right on. Exactly what we're saying. Thank you for that contribution, Thomas. And you're all welcome to like Thomas's comment and also transcribe anything that we say that resonates with you, or put it in your own words, and I'll try and keep one eye cocked there to see and to share your comments with others. Prabhupada says, a pure soul, in other words, a soul who's cleared everything unnecessary and extraneous, who doesn't get distracted or diverted by unnecessary types and superficial types of worship, who's not a people pleaser, who's not a crowd pleaser, but who's a God pleaser. This pure soul is the eternal servant of God as his fragmental part and parcel. He comes into contact with Maya illusion due to the desire to lord it over Maya, and that is the cause of his many sufferings. As long as he is in contact with matter, he has to execute work in terms of material necessities. Krishna consciousness, however, and I've got this all in bold, capital, red letters. Krishna consciousness, however, brings one into spiritual life even while one is within the jurisdiction of matter, for it is an arousing of spiritual experience by practice in the material world. Imagine how much effort you have to go through to please your boss or your supervisor, or even your wife, even your spouse. I remember one time pulling into a gas station somewhere in Idaho, and there was this old couple in their car. They'd gotten gas and they were getting ready to drive, and they had the map in between them spread on their laps, and they were arguing and cursing and yelling at each other. They couldn't agree whether to take this route or that route. And this was obviously a couple that had been married 30 or 40 years. And all they seemed to have achieved in all that time was to have learned how to get on each other's nerves to a exasperating degree. Prabhupada used to give the example of an old married couple, and one spouse says to the other, well, what have you done? What have you done? And isn't it a fact, it's so hard to please even another individual infinitesimal soul in this material world, even after serving them, even after being married. And of course, this is not always the case, but in so many cases we find that the boss, the spouse, the teacher, the politician are implacable, impossible to please even after a lifetime of service. And yet Krishna is so pleased with even a little effort in devotional service, that he'll never let you go. As soon as you are open to serving the Lord and chanting his holy names and taking prasadam, the Lord has got you now. He's got you by the back of the neck, and he's not going to be happy or satisfied until he drags you forcibly back to home, back to Godhead. His nature is that what he starts, he will finish. Or what you start, he will finish. Maybe you started. Maybe you thought it was a good idea to make your life successful and go back home, back to Godhead. Maybe you visited the temple. Maybe you chanted Hare Krishna. Maybe you took prasadam. And then you cooled off. You backed away. You ceased and desisted. But Krishna didn't back away from you. Krishna didn't cease and desist from you. Now, having taken the first steps, Krishna, somehow or other, is going to figure out how to get you back to home, back to Godhead, in spite of yourself. So how much better and how much more benefit we get by serving the Lord even a little bit, even half-heartedly, as compared to wholeheartedly serving people, serving the crowd, serving our spouse, serving our boss. Of course, we don't neglect any of this because one is satisfied, because one is watering the root of the tree and feeling deep purposefulness and meaning and satisfaction. One automatically becomes the best husband, the best spouse, the best father, the best employer, the best employee, the best teacher, the best student. That's achieved without any extraneous endeavor. Just like, as I said, water the root of the tree, all the branches, flowers, fruits, and leaves will automatically be watered. By opting for Krishna worship doesn't mean that all others will feel left out, jealous, dissatisfied. Just the opposite. Krishna will drag you back to home, back to Godhead, almost in spite of yourself. And during that process, people will note, he's a good father. He's a good husband. He's a good employer. He's a good employee. He's a good student. He's a good teacher. And all the while that you're getting kudos in the material world, diligently following your conditional duties based on this body, your gender, your economic status, your nationality. All the time that you are above and beyond, head and shoulders above the crowd in these areas, you're practicing how to go back to home, back to Godhead. You're serving the Lord here and now, worshiping the deities, offering food, decorating, cleaning, art, gardening, music, computer, graphics, all with the gat, Narayana para gati, with the goal, with the satisfaction, pleasure of Narayana in mind, and with the destination of going to the spiritual world. And here's the secret. Spiritual world has no geographical boundaries. The spiritual world is wherever there is Bhagavan, wherever there's Bhakta, and wherever there's Bhakti. Bhagavan is that supreme, singular, eternal. Bhakta are ourselves, the living entities, including the demigods who are constitutionally servants of the Lord. And when we take up that baton of service, the verb there is bhakti. And that's what puts Bhagavan and Bhakta together. That's where it all falls together, snaps into place, and you have the spiritual world. So here in Spanish Fork, Utah, in the United States of America, on planet Earth in 2020, we've got the deities, we've got the service, and we've got the devotees. So this is the spiritual world right here and now. And when one transfers ultimately to the eternal abode of the Lord, one's going to be doing the very same things. It's not that you do one thing in order to get another result. It's not that the means are one thing and the end is something altogether different. What you're doing right now, you will continue to do in the spiritual world. Simply, you will not have to contend with matter anymore. Contend with birth, death, disease, and old age, pimples, and pollution, and acid rain, and narcissistic, parasitic politicians. You'll be able to serve the Lord freely, unconditionally, eternally, in full bliss and knowledge. Narada Muni was traveling one time. And he met 4 different types of people, which illustrate my point. First of all, he met a king. And kings have certain license to do what other people can't do. They can have multi-wives, they can take intoxications. To keep their martial arts sharp, they can hunt animals in the forest. So Narada Muni wanted to benedict the king, or the king asked him to benedict him. And Narada Muni said, "May you live forever." You know how people say, "Long live the king." So Narada Muni said, "May you live forever, because you're performing all kinds of sensualistic, hedonistic activities. You're becoming attached to them in this life. And so in your next life, because you're pursuing the objects of the senses, and that is particular to the animals, you are highly likely to take an animal birth in your next life. So may you live long, long live the king in this life, because your next life is uncertain." And the next person Narada Muni came to was a celibate brahmachari. He was performing austerities, living in the forest. Narada Muni said, "May you die right away," because he had given up all material attachments. He had turned his back and distanced himself from all karmic reactions. He basically had nothing more to do with this material world and its laws of cause and effect. And so Narada Muni said to the brahmachari, "May you die right away." To the king, he said, "May you live long." To the brahmachari, he said, "May you die right away." And then he came to a butcher. Butcher was every day killing animals. And for every animal he killed, he would have to take a birth as an animal. And he killed thousands and thousands of animals. So Narada Muni said to the butcher, "I don't know whether to bless you to die or to live, because the longer you live, the more sins you're committing. But as soon as you die, you're going to have to face the results of all that misery and pain and suffering that you caused. So don't live, don't die." The king, he said, "Live long." The brahmachari, the yogi, he said, "Die right away." The butcher, he said, "Don't live and don't die." He came to a devotee who was worshiping the Lord, performing arti, cooking, making prasadam for the Lord, growing things in the garden. And he said to the devotee, "Live or die, it doesn't matter. Because what you're doing now, you'll be doing the same things after liberation, the same things in the spiritual world." So not only is a devotee as perfect as he or she can be in terms of pleasing the demigods, family, friends, country, employees, employers, but they're also engaged in dress rehearsal, practice for living in eternal life of bliss and knowledge in the spiritual world. It's like the dress rehearsal for the play, the practice lap around the track before the race actually starts. So Krishna says in the 38th verse of the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, "Yata pravirtir bhutanam yena sarvavidam tatam shukkanamatam abhyacha siddhim vedanti manavaha." By doing your work where you find yourself, in the social position that you are located, in the job, in the family, in the country, wherever it is that you are, and whatever it is you're doing, with a few exceptions, obviously, like being a butcher or running a bar. But most occupations are fine. So doing your social duty, doing your conditional duty based on this body, your nationality, your gender, and so on and so forth, but with the satisfaction of the Lord in mind, everybody can attain perfection through the performance of their own work. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So to be honest with you, we've only just scratched the surface of this verse. I'll just read it once more. We'll have more to say tomorrow about it. If you enjoyed anything, share it with your friends, give us some little thumbs up. All that interaction will go into the Facebook logarithms and push us higher. We have a YouTube channel also. We encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. There are thousands and thousands of videos there. So here once again is this wonderful verse, uplifting verse. Vasudeva para Veda, Vasudeva para Makaha, Vasudeva para Yoga, Vasudeva para Kriya, Vasudeva param Jnanam, Vasudeva param Tapa, Vasudeva para Dhamma, Vasudeva para Gati. In the revealed scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Sri Krishna. The purpose of performing sacrifices is Sri Krishna. Yogas for realizing Sri Krishna. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna is supreme knowledge. All severe austerities are performed to know Sri Krishna. Religion or dharma is rendering loving service to Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna is the ultimate goal of life. So obviously we haven't finished up on this subject today. We'll carry on. It'll spill over tomorrow. But thank you so much for being with us and enjoying our puny efforts to glorify and honor and acknowledge the source of us all, the Lord of all creation, the owner and proprietor of all lands, the beneficiary of all sacrifices, our well-wishing friend, and hopefully, like myself, you've gained just a bigger measure of peace and satisfaction in your life as a result of our last 45 minutes together. And we'll be back tomorrow for Transcendental Tuesdays, and until then, don't forget to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.